Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Negeri Malang adalah salah satu dari 8 fakultas yang dimiliki oleh Universitas Negeri Malang. Visi dari Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Negeri Malang adalah menjadi fakultas ekonomi dan bisnis yang unggul dan menjadi rujukan baik di bidang pendidikan maupun di bidang ilmu ekonomi. Visi tersebut tidak saja sifatnya nasional tetapi juga internasional, sehingga ini akan mendukung keinginan dari universitas yang ingin menjadi universitas berkualitas di tingkat dunia. Beberapa hal yang dilakukan oleh Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis adalah student acting. Kami telah melakukan berbagai upaya untuk pertukaran mahasiswa, tidak saja pertukaran mahasiswa di dalam negeri tetapi juga pertukaran mahasiswa dengan luar negeri.
Hello, my name is Mahmurjon Halimov. I'm from Tajikistan. I'm student Master of Accounting in State University of Malang in Faculty of Economy and Business.
My name is Shaukat Rahman and I'm from Afghanistan and I'm studying Bachelor of Economics Development in the Faculties of Economics and Business in Universities of Negeri Malang.
Whenever you see University of Negeri Malang, you can see the learning universities. It means we learn here, we can learn everything here. So I really like this university. And why I also choose management, because I'm studying my master degree in management, because I know in Indonesia is already developed, it's a developing country. So, and management, now we are in the area of manager. So everyone want to become manager. The reason why I like to choose management.
Kemudian di bidang penelitian, kami telah melakukan kerjasama penelitian dengan beberapa perguruan tinggi yang ada di luar negeri, misalnya di wilayah ASEAN, Australia maupun beberapa dari peneliti Amerika. Dan ini telah kami buktikan dengan pendanaan penelitian yang berasal dari BNPB Universitas, yang di situ dikatakan bahwa salah satu persyaratannya harus melibatkan peneliti asing. Dan ini telah kami lakukan tahun 2019, tidak kurang dari 10 peneliti asing kami libatkan di penelitian dosen-dosen di Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Negeri Malang.
ekonomi khususnya berkait dengan perilakuan keuangannya, utamanya adalah itu.
Jadi bukan berarti menyalahkan kurikulumnya atau apa, tapi Bapak sebagai dokter pendidikan ekonomi harus berani memberikan kritik yang konstruktif terhadap apa yang sudah ada.
Hasil diskusinya Pak Untung, kalau Pak Untung masih berpegang pada 70%.
Saya Dewi, saya dari jurusan Manajemen Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Negeri Malang. Mengapa saya memilih Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Negeri Malang? Karena merupakan fakultas yang berdaya saing yang unggul dan terakreditasi, serta memiliki tenaga pengajar yang ramah dan berkualitas, dan menghasilkan mahasiswa yang berkompeten pada bidangnya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Director of Universitas Negeri Malang, Your Excellency, Professor Dr. Ahmad Rafiuddin, MPD. Excellencies, the Dean Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Malang, Dr. Cipto Wardoyo, SE, MPD, MSI, AK, CA. Vice Deans and Chief of Department, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Malang. Would like also to recognize and welcome the Vice Rector of Academic Affairs Universitas Negeri Malang, Professor Dr. Budi Eko Sucipto MM, who will join us as one of the speakers today. Excellency speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 4th International Research Conference on Economics and Business, the potential challenges and prospects for economic and business in the new And the second one will be Professor Dr. Asako Takada from Hosei Business School of Innovation Management, Hosei University, Japan. Good morning, Professor. Hello, Professor. Okay, and following will be Professor Dr. Budi Eko Sucipto MM from Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Morning. The last but not the least, we also have Dr. Suparat Suryan Kikko, PhDs, from College of Management, Mahidol University, Thailand. Professor, good morning. It's also my deep pleasure to introduce you to the moderator for today's event, Mrs. Lohana Juwaria, SE, MSI. Mrs. Lohana is an assistant professor at Department of Management, concentrating in Human Resource Management and Development, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Malang. She holds a master's degree and bachelor degree in management from Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta. Her research interests are strategic HRM, indigenous HR practices in MSMEs, work-family conflict, and employee engagement. She has published journal papers and conference articles related to that topics. Currently, she is working on community development supporting ecotourism based on pottery, organic farming, and traditional foods in South Malang. She is also the managing editor of journal Economy Business, Sinta accredited by Directorate of Higher Education Ministry of Education and Culture, Indonesia. Mrs. Lohana was the chair at International Conference on Islam, Economy and Halal Industry in 2019 and also rewarded the 10-year service award Satya Lencana Karya. She's now trying to balance work-family demands and keep looking potential supervisor and scholarship for pursuing PhD degree. Excellency speakers, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, believe me, today is going to be a fruitful day. However, before we start, allow me to remind you to use your official name and background template. You are also expected to turn off the microphone during the seminar and turn on the camera for the whole program. For any question you have during the seminar, please use the raise hand feature or simply type in the Q&A or chat room. The moderator will select the questions or invite you directly to raise it. Only those who follow the program until the end will receive e-certificate, and the committee will share the attendance link at the end of the seminar. Here, I'll also inform you that we'll announce the best paper at the end of the seminar sessions. Excellency speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we officially begin our international conference, we will reverse and listen to our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Excellency speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to invite the Chief Executive of the 4th International Research Conference on Economics and Business to give the report speech, Dr. Elysius Wanto, SOS, MM.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, it is with great pleasure that I welcome the participants of the 4th International Research Conference, Economics and Business, IRCEP 2020, held by the Faculty of Economics Universitas Negeri Malang. I would like to welcome the honorable keynote speakers and the expertise speakers, Dr. Asako Tagada from Hosei University, Japan, Dr. Suparat Suryankit-Kew from Mahidol University, Thailand, Associate Professor Tamat Sarmidi from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Profesor Budi Eko Sucipto from Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rizal Palil from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Profesor Dewanto Sasta Pratomo from Brawijaya University Indonesia, Profesor Rati Huryati from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Ananda Sabil Hussein from Brawijaya University Indonesia, and the Honorable Rector of Universitas Negeri Malang, Profesor Dr. Haji Rafiuddin, MPD. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time and effort for joining this virtual conference. We know that we all experience an authentic situation in the global COVID-19 pandemic, a virus not visible to naked eyes has put the world on pause. We probably only just have seen the tip of the iceberg. The many shifts this pandemic will trigger in terms of the socioeconomic fallout and so much more. COVID-19 has compounded existing development challenges. For all to see, it has laid bare the legs and outer fragility of sustainable development. The expected drops in export, the plummeting oil price, and the halt of tourism have further decreased the economic vulnerability of the world. As someone said, the show must go on. Yes, our life still exists. We still fight with the current condition. Therefore, as an academic, even though we cannot have meeting directly, we still need to provide a virtual intellectual discourse which will result in the future collaborations between universities and research institutions, both locally and internationally. So we proudly present for IRCEP 2020 with the topics the potential challenges and prospects for economic and business in the new normal. In particular, it is expected that the focus will be given to issues on economic sustainability during and after COVID-19 pandemic. The quest for knowledge has been from the beginning of time, but knowledge only becomes valuable when it is disseminated and applied to benefit humankind. Based on our data, the report highlights 52 articles we have received for IRCEP 2020 and 40 selected paper quality for publication from some well-known universities in Indonesia and even in Malaysia. The number of seminar audiences, approximately 2,000 participants registered. Thank you for participating in this event. This shows the enthusiasm of our fellow researchers and scientists in developing their knowledge, and hopefully the contribution of theory will develop the economy, management, education, as well as all scope in which they are the concern of this international meeting. Finally, on behalf of the committee as Chief Executive of IRCEP 2020, we thank you for all of your participation in this international conference seminar, and also I would like to congratulate the organizing committee for their tremendous effort in organizing the conference. Furthermore, we are very pleased to have the honor of requesting the rector's approval to open this event. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Eli. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to invite the Rector of Universitas Negeri Malang, Professor Dr. Ahmad Rafiuddin MPD to deliver a special welcome remark, and afterward to officially open the 4th International Research Conference on Economics and Business. Ladies and gentlemen, Director of Universitas Negeri Malang.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi and good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Universitas Negeri Malang and welcome to 4th International Research Conference Economic and Business 2020, held by Faculty of Economic Universitas Negeri Malang. I would like to welcome our honorable speakers today, Dr. Asaku Takaja from Hosei University, Japan, Dr. Suparak Suryan Kitko from Mahidol University, Thailand, Associate Professor Dr. Tamat Samidi from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Profesor Budi Eko Sucipto from Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rizal Palil from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Profesor Dr. Devanto Sasta Pratomo from Brawijaya University, Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Ratih Huryati from UPI, Indonesia, Dr. Ananda Sabil Hussein from Brawijaya University, Indonesia, and all participants of this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, as well as we know, global economic are heavily hit by the COVID-19 outbreak. Shock hit all of the economic agents in the circular flow of macroeconomy, including corporation, which consists of formal and informal business entities, small and medium-sized enterprise, household, government, and the financial sector. Starting from the formal business sector, the current weakening of a global demand and supply chain disruption caused by the termination of input good production in several major global producers triggers major production shock. This indirectly results in the negative domino effect that interferes with the domestic business activities. Furthermore, the implementation of physical distancing policy also reduce household demand for goods and services. As a result, the company's revenue also declined, potentially leading to layoff and even the risk of bankruptcy. Movement restriction put a lot of pressure on the population physical, mental, health, social, and economy. There is an increasing pressure to restart and reassess the social and economic sector and allow the people to get back to work. This must be well planned before the movement restriction is lifted. The development procedures should find the right balance between economic restoration and COVID-19 prevention. The social and economic sector must open in peace by emphasizing safety and health than economic recovery. In balancing the economic and recovery and prevention in COVID-19, the government is encouraging the implementation of the new normal policy. The new normal definition alludes to a new ways of doing things due to drastically altered circumstances. Business must adjust and adapt using new business strategies based on new normal communication best practice and new normal operation best practice. Based on this condition, Universitas Negeri Malang provide this forum in sharing critical issues in business and economic sector. The themes of this international conference is the potential challenge and prospects for economy and business in new normal. The first IRCEB provides the forum for the presentation of new advance and result in the fields of the theoretical, experimental, and applied business and economic research. We hope that the conference will bring together leading researchers and scientists from various interests around the world. Through the participant contribution, it is hoped that this conference could provide a deeper understanding of a current economic and business issue. As Rector Universitas Negeri Malang, I hope the presence of the participant contribute the development of science as well. Welcome to the 4th International Research Conference Economic and Business 2020. Hopefully, this conference will be useful for all of us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor. Before we begin, we would like to invite Mr. Andrew Agil Nurrahmat, SEIME, to lead us to have a prayer so that our today's event will run well and fruitful.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we start our conference this morning, let's pray together. Allow me to recite this prayer with Islam dua, and for another religion audience, please to adjust. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma innaka ta'lamu anna hadhil quluba qad ijtama'at ala mahabbatik waltaqat ala ta'atik wa tawahadat ala da'watik wa ta'ahadat ala nusrati syariatik fawathiqillahumma rabitataha wa adim wuddaha wahdiha subulaha wamla'ha binurika allati la yakhbu washrah suduraha bifaidil imani bik wa jamili tawakkuli alaik wa ahyiha bima'rifatik wa amitha ala syahadati fi sabilik innaka ni'mal maula wa ni'man nasir. Allahumma hawwin alaina fi sakaratil maut. Allahumma hawwin alaina fi sakaratil maut. Allahumma hawwin alaina fi sakaratil maut. Allahumma innaka ta'lamu anna hadhil quluba qad istamat ala mahabbatik. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzabannar. Bifadlika ya Allah subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatihah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew, for the prayer. Before we start the seminar sessions, I'd like to invite all panelists to turn on the camera, and we'll take group pictures. Okay, for all panelists, please turn on your camera. Professor Asako, can you hear me? Professor Rafiuddin? Okay. Okay, thank you. Excellency speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are now the time to commence our fruitful and engaging today's international conference. Thus, I'd like to invite the moderator to take over the sessions. Mrs. Lohana, the time is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction, Ms. Aulia Wardoyo, respectable, the head of Department Management, who is also the conference chair, Dr. Elise Swanto, distinguished guest speakers, our colleagues, and all participants in this conference. I'm Lohana. It's my great honor to be the moderator of this conference today, and I am very pleased to see you here and welcome you all to the 4th International Research Conference in Economics and Business, IRCEP 2020. This year's conference will probably record it as the first time totally online conference in the history of IRCEP due to COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic is already changed the world. Many countries are struggling with their shrinking economic condition. Business and industries are also threatened by the pandemic, and however, there are some business successful harvesting their strategy during this COVID-19 era, especially basic needs, pharmaceutical, and also ICT business. It is clearly seen that the pandemic, just like two sides of swords, it will be challenges and opportunities in the pandemic. Therefore, today's conference will discuss about the potential challenges and also prospect for economy and business in the new normal. Together with us, our distinguished speakers from 4 different countries that will discuss together with us. They are from Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as a moderator, I would like to talk about the rule. There will be of the session. There will be 2 parallel sessions with 2 speakers each, and 5 minutes break between the session. And in the first session, we will have Dr. Tamat Sarmidi and Professor Asako Takada, and there will be Professor Budi Eko Sucipto and also Dr. Suparak Suryan Kitkiu in the second session. Before the session begins, let us know the regulation how the presentation will be going on. I would like to give time to each speakers for sharing their materials for about 30 minutes. Question and answer session will be held after all speakers finish their presentation. However, the participants could also write their question during the presentation in chat box, or you can use the raise hand tool in the Zoom. Yeah. Now, allow me to introduce you our first speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Tamat bin Sarmidi.
Yes. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Yes.
Professor Tamat Sarmidi is an associate professor at the Center of Sustainable and Inclusive Development Studies, Faculty of Economics and Management, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM. He holds a PhD from University of Leicester, United Kingdom. His research interest is on international economics, which he has written extensively on international finance and capital flows in many reputable journals, with 136 citations. He is now Deputy Dean, Research and Innovation, UKM, editor in two prestigious journal in Malaysia. No wonder that he got Excellent Service Award from UKM in 2017 and also got consultancy and many research grants with his expertise. The current research of him is about aviation industry and its impact on Asian economy during pandemic that he will share to us today. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Tamat Sarmidi.
And thank you very much for the organizer for having me on board. It is a great honor for me to be part of this conference. Yang berbahagia Pak Rektor, Profesor Ahmad Raifuddin, and then all panitia, okay, for during very challenging times, but managed to organize such a big event. From I think there are 859 participants already who listens to virtually participate in this conference. So I'm not going to take much because given only very short time, 30 minutes to share, as mentioned by the moderator. Thank you. On my expertise, okay. It is part of my research that I got a grant from Malaysian's government and few international bodies on air transport, okay, perturbations due to COVID-19. Before that, let me share the slide with you, okay. Is it okay? Clear? You can, meaning that can see the...
Yes, clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, the way that I'm going to organize this, because to make it more structured and easily to be understood, that I'm going to touch a little bit on current statistics, a little bit on the theoretical foundations of what happens during this pandemic, and then going to zoom in to focus, okay, on the problems of this I got some problem a little bit. Okay, zoom into air transport perturbations and sectoral impact. This is part of my study using ASEAN and +5. In fact, on the broader study, we are studying throughout the world. Okay, and then I'm going to give you some areas of concerns on this new normal, because we know that we are unaware of this new normal until I think in February 2020. Before that, we are talking in China, but suddenly from nowhere prop up a new terms, coronavirus, and pandemic then changed the whole world. Okay. We notice that our crisis now, what I can say is that about crisis, it is a twin crisis, which we, in this modern history that we never encounter before. We have so many economic crises, okay, from financial crisis, from subprime crisis, but we never face this pandemic crisis and economic crisis, where most of the countries take some measures to stop and to lock down because to contain the pandemic. The demand is still robust because of some fiscal measures injected by the government, but on the supply side, demand liquidity is quite high. If we notice that there are a lot of trading in the stock market, a selected few, but we notice that on the supply, because closing the border where there is no cross-border movement of people and then on product. So due to that, unemployment increases because of shutdown in some industries, disruptions on supply chain, okay, on certain product, then unemployment increases. So what happened is that we afraid on the secular stagnations may deepen because of there are worried on the health situations in the countries. So developing economies experience greater contractions compared to developed countries. Low because they are the white collar, because now industries are moving towards more digitalized, and then they are moving more on technology rather than employing human, because human are very fragile, subject to subject to this pandemic, unlike to the technology, which is quite robust. So the main concerns is on the income and wealth inequality may rise, because the industrialized country and then these capitalists, they're going to get benefit from this pandemic. Pandemic is not hitting all industries. Pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical related industries are gaining what do you call it, benefit, where, for example, like glove industries, they are having a good price and then good demand throughout the world. Only few selected become more stricter due to COVID. So we can say that the NTMs increases, the coverage ratio increases, and then due to supply chain problem, some countries like Japan, China, they are calling and they are introducing new scheme. We call it onshoring program, where they're calling back all the industries initially outside of the country, go back to country, so that they have a complete loop of supply chain in the country, so that will not be affected by the pandemic. So these are the few issues that we can say that in the economy. So IMF warned us, okay, that the pandemic-induced global downturn way worse than 2008 financial crisis, and no growth this year for the first time in 60 years, they predicted, IMF. And then it leaves the poor even further behind. Okay, we are not progressing but digressing. World Bank also commands like the pandemic is expected to plunge most countries into recession in 2020. Then we can see nowadays there are few countries who are suffering already. And then World Economic Forum also, business are coping with lost revenue in some businesses. And then its main concerns for them, because the factory shut down that triggered to unemployment. And then it is a trade-off between economy and the health. Okay, I refer to Accenture. There is a very famous and very reputable source of what do you call it, survey out of from throughout the world. Okay, they notice that people concerns on their health, their personal health and personal economy is far less compared to the community. The problem is that when it's a trade-off with the pandemic. So meaning that if you put weight on pandemic, then the economy getting lighter. Okay, while you put weight on economy, then the pandemic will spread out to the country. So it is a very, very challenging on getting optimizations program or optimization solutions to pandemic and the economy. So we notice that from current report, okay, throughout the world, where the economy is plunged after Q4 2020, even in Q1. World economy is negative, advanced economies, and then emerging and developing economies also plunged. For developing countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, China, Philippines, most of the countries, even Malaysia, also getting the same problem. Okay, so emerging markets, okay, we are not getting the full throttle at the moment. It's still coming, and emerging economy will be affected by multiple shock. Okay, a decline in external demand, especially on the tourism industries, where most of the Southeast Asia countries, like I think most of the countries are depending on tourism, especially on the informal economy, where I think Indonesia, Malaysia accounted for 20 to 30% of the economy. In the informal economy will be affected much by lack of tourism industries. So the COVID crisis is important of having an enhanced social protections. We notice that this informal economy suffer a lot, and then there no one to protect them because they are unregistered. Even though if government give stimulus packages, there are some incentive. So to be more specific, there are most of the countries, okay, I share with you here, most of the countries, India, Indonesia, Brazil, China, all over the world, okay, Thailand got a negative growth in this 2020, projected to have negative growth, and it's happened already. Only slightly rebound on 2021 because it is year-to-year basis. But if you take like year 2019 or 2015 base, then we afraid that it's still not bouncing to the original level. The rate of convergence quite slow. It is expected that by maybe 2025 or earliest 2023 to rebound back, okay, to almost to the normal conditions. Okay, if we look into Global Health and Security Index, on the pandemic or on this security and health problem, we notice that most of the countries are not prepared. Okay, from the report says that on average is only 41 point, which far below from the index where we can say that it's prepared, well prepared. Indonesia, for example, is only score 56, and then it's ranked 30 in the world. Malaysia got 62.2 point, ranked 18, and Thailand's little bit better, okay, got 73.2 point, okay, and ranked 6 in the world, according to this GHS index map throughout the world. to indicate that we are not prepared. We are talking on different issues throughout the world. We are talking about trade war. We are talking about we are not even we think on the worst scenario of what happened if pandemics happen to us. Okay, this world GDP quarterly, I'm not going to talk about that. And then fiscal support throughout countries. We in Asia, for example, in Asians, altogether, the government, all Asian countries, Southeast Asia has spent around 318 billion USD to recover the impacts of a pandemic. It's total about 10.1% of all ASEAN member states' GDP. Because of the seriousness of this pandemic, then it is the government thinks, and then it is necessary to save the economy to have this amount of important. And then, if not, if there is no action being taken, we afraid that the world populations will have like 547 million fall into poverty if nothing happened, meaning that no actions by government. East Asia and Pacific itself will have the highest number, approximately like 239 millions of poverty, incidents of poverty, where those people who earns below $5.50 per day, okay, in this region. South Asia, India, and then the surrounding there, afraid to have like 128 millions, okay, and then Africa and many more countries. Move on the theory. Why this happens? Okay, Anderson's and May. Okay, and for the organizer, please remind me on the time, because I don't have a specific time at the moment where I start. I did not see my watch just now, so remind me, please. Okay.
I will.
Okay. How many minutes I have?
15.
15 minutes. Okay. Yes. Okay. On the right track. Okay. Okay. We can say to a seminal paper, this is a textbook, very good textbook, Anderson and May in 1991, where he argued that advancement of technology, it is the book written in 1991, and then they said advancement technology, we could not imagine how much more advanced technology in 2021, like 20 years from 30 years from this book. Epidemiological model of risk management on the exponential and quadratic functions, that's this spreading very fast, okay? So that the disease containment fundamentally shape the economy and financial thinking. So similar analogy have been used on the capital outflow functions of this using speculations of financial crisis in 1997 and 2008 on how this epidemiological model could impact the whole economy. So they are looking into transmissions coefficients. They are looking into transmission coefficients, where how fast this epidemic could spread throughout the world, okay? And then they are looking into pandemic and then it's going to decline. So they calculated on the process when it's reached to the peak and then on the declining point, okay, after reaching the peaks and declining point. So it is non-linear model, but we do have a linear model to calculate the transmission coefficients. And then we do have the convergence rate towards the financial, if in financial sectors, but nowadays in a pandemic, then we're going to have a transmission coefficients of the pandemic. So there are three not contradicting, but there are three school of thought that try to cope of the pandemic. We notice that one is on the Keynesian revolutions that heavily depends on the government side, okay? So that the government need to take leading actions to packages, recovery process, so that everyone can be safe from the pandemic. On the contrary, neoclassical synthesis, they are saying that the government playing, we can say that government is doing a disruption, okay, to the process of pandemic recovery. A government shouldn't interfere the markets. Let the markets play their significant role on coping the pandemic. Because what happened is that there is a natural phenomenon. For example, nowadays, not every industries are suffering. There are few industries who getting benefits from the pandemic. For example, pharmaceutical. For example, a technological based industry. They are that's not significant, industry that are not significant anymore, let them cease from the market naturally, rather than government interfere. If the government still want to maintain that industry, which naturally are not important, are not significant to the economy, it is a great loss, and that it deadweight loss to the economy. These are views of the neoclassical synthesis. For example, like an old age man, let them die, okay, rather than you cater and bother of this old man. Why don't you bother about them? And we need to bother for a new generations, new child. Okay, another groups of people who are in real business cycle theory saying that it is a problem of supply side rather than on demand side or on the government side. No, it is on the supply side. We have to make sure that the supply be not disrupted, meaning that the process is services not disrupted. Then as long as this happen, then the economy will have in a normal or in a right path to recovery. Okay, I take a study case. What I can say that is a case study for air transport perturbations and sectoral impact in ASEAN 5. It is a multi-regional input-output interoperability analysis. Rather than for each country, I'm referring to ASEAN and +5 due to COVID-19. Okay, the data and methods, the impacts of COVID-19 on air transport. Because what happened, I choose air transport here rather than other industries. We noticed that air transport, okay, in the world is approximately 35% of world trade are interrelated or have a connections with air billion passengers, okay, throughout the world, and then it's about 3.5% for the whole world GDP. This is how important is air transport. So when there are some disruptions in air transport, then we going to, I think the economy see a lot of disruptions as well. So we want to acknowledge the role played by air transport industry, driving the national economy. And then our study is based on the estimations by the most authoritative authority that govern the air transport industry, that is International Air Transport Association, IATA. Okay, so the simulations of for 5 ASEAN countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam, and Australia, China, India, Japan, and Korea. For some reason, this study, I'm using ASEAN Development Bank, ADB, multi-regional input-output database, okay, for 35 sectors. And then if 35 sectors is too much, I aggregated that 35 sectors into 9 sectors to see the real impact. Okay, based on IATA, what we call it, we can say that they predicted, but based on real number, change in passenger demand based on 2019, okay, and then the passenger demand reductions, okay, in terms of numbers. We noticed that, for example, like Malaysia's 51%, okay, most of the international flights being cancelled, only this covers only domestic. Indonesia, 49%, okay, reductions, okay, because now only domestics in operations. Okay, a report from disruptions only recently recover back by starting from January to April, approximately like 90% stopped, and then now is around 57% in operations. Okay, more than 50% already, but very slow in recovery. Many more countries like Thailand, 52%, but ranges from 40 to 60%. Okay, the disruptions, change in passenger demands. Okay, using this, after using the data, okay, I'm looking into the, we call it the effects. The air transport, okay, on final demand output multiplier, okay, when we put shock by on the, what do you call it, the numbers or shock percentage by IATA, then we can see that's the output multiplier, meaning that this output multiplier means like 1% or 1 unit increase in output demand. Then what happened to our specific countries' air transport multiplier? Meaning that air transport plays very important role. Okay, the value is more than 1. Indonesia 1.6, Malaysia 2.7. Okay, Philippines 2.2, Thailand 2.3. Most of the countries, okay, recorded more than 1, which the multiplier is quite high, okay, on the air transport. Value added, this is for local, what do you call it, contributions, where Indonesia, Malaysia, even though the multiplier, for example, Malaysia 2.7, but the value added multiplier to local economy is only for 0.7, where most of the okay, and then local quotients, whether the industry able to sustain or not. We notice that other industries, those industries that score more than 1, we can say that in general they can sustain, but those score less than 1 may not sustain. Okay, for example, Indonesia, Vietnam, and India, okay, they may not sustain due to this pandemic. Okay. Okay, if we move on to the sectoral that are aggregated into 19 sectors, we notice that for Indonesia, Malaysia, the first column is Indonesia. I highlighted the 5 top industries, okay, that got the highest inoperability, meaning that the non-functioning. Okay, for example, in Indonesia, 51%, okay, inoperability of air transport. In 51% is direct, and approximately like 3 point something percent is indirect effects, okay, on the air transport. On high tax and medium, for example, for Malaysia, inavailability is 1.35%, indicates that approximately like 98% in operations, but 1.35% in operability. Or similar with other sectors, most affected is air transport itself, and then high tax utilities for some countries. In Indonesia, 0.49% disruptions. Tourisms, okay, because it cater only for international tourism, they still get local tourism, even though it is on the yearly basis. So the number might a bit different using different database.
I'm sorry, Professor.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes left.
3 minutes left. Okay, yes, I'm finishing. Yes, I think got sectors, other supporting transport activities being suffered. For example, Malaysia, inoperability point is 3.4%, meaning that the operational level is approximately 94% only, okay, due to COVID-19 shock to inoperability of air transport perturbations. Okay, in terms of the contributions, economic loss to GDP, okay, there are numbers on air transport itself. For example, Malaysia is 3.8 billion, Indonesia 4.8 billion, okay, on primary sectors of 549 million USD, okay, and other sectors. So this is a great loss to the economy. So we have to strategize how to solve the problem. And then we notice that total GDP loss and top 5 industries with largest economic loss approximately like 70 billion, okay, GDP loss. And then Malaysia 8.14 billion and Indonesia is 7.14 billion loss to GDP. Okay, so this is the area of concerns where we need to have a healthy economy, but when we open the economy, we're going to suffer from health pandemic. So this is a trade-off that we need to model to have an optimum point opening that economy that not suffer or that not spread the pandemic, and then we want to contain the economy. We want to contain the pandemic at the same time to have economic growth. So, but the main problem is those who are not in the economic system that not covered by this, what they call it, stimulus packages or recovery process, where they are not okay, they are not recorded in tax system, they are not recorded in their the registrations of the company, they are not in those what system, so that the government could not assist them, and then these stimulus packages will not penetrated to this group of people. And then institutional setup, where we notice that after Sempiter and then nowadays we talk about a good institutional. So we need to have a good institutional, okay, to battle with the pandemic. We notice that most of the developed countries, especially on health and emergencies, they are prepared for the pandemic. Then they can get rid of this pandemic problem successfully. And then definitely we need to cater on the human capital, that's capacity building, so that they able to understand what is pandemic and then how to get rid of a good health, and the same times they can actively participate in the economic activity. So it is a great challenge for us with these new norms, okay, where we are advised to have to avoid 3 C's. There's to have we call it a confined spaces, okay. We're going to have a classroom in open air, and then a close proximity, and then we have to talk each other in far distance, like nowadays we have a webinar seminar, and then we are advised to we need to avoid a crowded spaces. So we need to have big spaces with low density populations, density participant, so, which means the cost of organizing and cost of education, cost of whatever things going to goes up. So I think with that, these are references in your ears to my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sarmidi. I think 5 minutes extra is okay because we got very interesting information from your formula. I imagine that we can predict or estimate the contagion of the pandemic with the pandemic equilibrium. And I think together with the health sector, country can predict or prevent the contagion and set up the strategy to overcome the pandemic. And I think it will also beneficial for the airline business since it really affected based on your explanation because the tourism industry is also really affected. And because people are fear to go far away. And I think we can continue. If you have any question to Prof. Tamat Sarmidi, the audience can write down the question on the chat box. Now, we will continue with the second speakers, Professor Dr. Asako Takada. Professor?
Yes, I'm here.
Asako?
Yes, can you hear? Hi, Rohana.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, finally. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me check my the stopwatch. Okay. I'm Japanese, so very punctual. Anyway, good morning, and thank you for the wonderful occasion and to visit your IRCEB today. I'm Asako Takada, professor of the Hosei Business School in Japan.
Okay. May I introduce you?
Oh, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
What time in Japan now, Professor?
11:21 and sunny.
Oh, thanks God. Yeah. I will introduce briefly about Professor Dr. Asako Takada. Dr. Asako Takada is a professor of organizational behavior at the Hosei Business School of Innovation Management. And in 2013, she was appointed director of Global MBA program in Hosei Business School. Her research interests lie primarily in the areas of organization and leadership. She studies how to cultivate, create, and develop leadership skills of women managers. Wow. After working for Morgan Stanley, she received Master of International Management, MIM, from Vanderbilt School of Global Management, AZ, and MBA from Keio Business Schools, and also got her PhD from Keio Business Schools in Japan. She already published 4 books for single authored and 3 books for co-authored, and also many papers related with women leadership. She will share with us about this and what should organizations need to change in the age of COVID-19, especially in Japanese context. So, Professor Takada, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have been thinking to visit Indonesia, but I never ever been there. And we are planning to go there. I mean, honestly, this year with my husband, but the COVID-19 raised the schedule. So I'm very happy to join today and meet you guys. Okay, my theme is, can you see? Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Okay, my theme, actually I want to speak and I want to share my experience. The COVID-19 disaster was thought to be a problem only in other countries, but it became apparent when passengers on cruise ship, the Diamond Princess, who departed from Japan on January 25th, infected with COVID-19. See, this is Diamond Princess, and I'm sure that most of Japan, if somebody watching this, attending this conference in Japan, it's very familiar, this ship, Diamond Princess. So all of the COVID-19 starting here. So, and when the ship, the Japan on January 25th and infected with COVID-19. When the ship came to the port in Japan again, many infected passengers were found, and that caused a fuss throughout Japan. So at the time, nobody believes that we are infected by the COVID-19. And after that, the number of cases gradually increased. And on April 7th, Japanese government declared a state of emergency. First time in Japanese history. I think the response to the corona epidemic clearly shows the characteristic of Japan as a country. So I'd like to share my experience with you. See. This is the infection by country. And first of all, Japan is here, British row shape. And honestly, we do not have a lot of deaths by the COVID-19. Let me see, I think. Okay, and changes in the number of positive cases COVID-19. It's that the first mountains come here during April 21st. This is my first mountains, and next now we are here, and the next we are closing the second mountains, I think. And this is. Okay, and this is Japanese, and Japan is the COVID-19. The patient is concentrated on Japan in Tokyo and Osaka and Hokkaido. So look at this in yellow part. This is Osaka. This is Osaka, Tokyo, Hokkaido. So it's very interesting. Let me see. So on April 7th, the Japanese government declared the state of emergency. But I want to emphasize that we do not legally enforce by the law. We do not have a concept of the martial law. So just ask, do not do it. So the one characteristic is the people's reluctance to go out, even if it is not legally enforceable. The Japan's state of emergency order is not legally binding. It enables requesting residents to refrain from going out, except for working, grocery shopping, and requesting and instructing them to limit suspended the use of schools and department stores and movie theater, etc. And the holding of the event. But the most part of it is very vague law that is not legally binding and is based on the voluntary cooperation of the public. Requesting means their voluntary action. Instructing create legal obligation to perform, but there are no penalties. This is This is a picture which I took in that area in the day of the end of the April. So this is a subway station of Marunouchi. I mean, the Otemachi station is the biggest financial district in Japan, but nobody's there. Still, most business and people voluntarily stopped going out. Of course, the medical facilities, railroad, airplanes, automobiles, and other social infrastructures companies did their best to deal with the situation. Inevitably, they had to stay inside the home, which caused a lot of troubles and difficulties. And honestly, a lot of not a lot of, but domestic violence was in the family is occurred. And good friend of mine is a lawyer in Japan, and he said that this time is they recorded is the highest record for the consultation for the divorce at the time. See, and this is Kyoto. And the right hand side is Gion Matsuri's Kyoto. It's a dry a festival of Yasaka Shrine, and the most famous festival in Japan. This is packed. Actually, the Kyoto is a favorite destination for the travelers. So the every days, every years, Kyoto is so packed. But the left-hand side here, which I took this picture on July, nobody here at that time. But I want to say it's not legal. I mean, it's not legal enforcement. You are not allowed to go out. And if you don't abide by that, you are not allowed to the part of the community. It is also true that this is kind of less healthy consequences, consensus arose. One example is so-called self-restraint police, people who complain about people who go out without permission and post their complaints on the internet, etc., etc. And you can see, many people can, I don't know, you can read it. It say, please do not come outside of the prefecture. It's right down. So, and this is a big shopping mall, big shopping mall, the parking. And it say, please do not come to outside of the country, prefecture. So it has a big division over the prefecture border. So we have in Japan, it's divided by the coronavirus. It is a countryside and the city side, such as Tokyo and Osaka. And Tokyo and many people said, for me, actually I'm working for the university. I mean, I'm professor, and many the country, many company which I supposed to have an interview with them say, please do not come because you live in Tokyo. So it's kind of a division we have right now. And look at this. This is, it's pretty, it's kind of, I don't know how to say in English. It's kind of shit. Okay, let me see. This is on the other hand, we are country that cares very much about the personal information. So this is an app. This is an app which are produced by the government. So the psychological resistance of the public to the tracking of their behavior using GPS is surprising to any of you. So that we do not like the using GPS, especially for the government made. So that this app is just you put on your information by yourself. If you have you feel okay, maybe I contact with a person who has a COVID-19, just put it in. So it make any sense for us. Japanese people obey the Japanese government. Also, there are no penalties, and everyone never likes the government. We Japanese people behave in very illogical organization manner. I think One of the reasons for this is the sense of impurity. We have impurity is one of the ancient Japanese ways of thinking about animism. It is an idea that disease is impurity, and that comes as a punishment because you've done something wrong. You can't believe that these ideas exist in this 21st century. I think this 4 or 5 months, you can see this kind of picture in TV. In April and May, in the places where there was a mass outbreak of infected people, or we call the clusters, all companies held a press conference, perhaps a press conference, and bowed out. They should have been able to defend themselves, but they caused impurity and made everyone else impure with them. This is a fundamental mindset for Japanese. So let me introduce, introduce my my analysis. Okay, the mindset, you cannot believe this is an idea of the 21st centuries. The mindset is first, I have been infected with COVID-19, which could have been prevented if I had been careful. Second, I didn't restrain myself enough. Third, I versus people around me. I'm sorry for disturbing society. In many cases, Japanese have a habit to respecting the group. This is probably because Japan is an island nation and historically they are not attacked so much by an outside enemy. So you can see if you come to Tokyo, Japan, or you can come to Japan and walking around the street, you can see such kind of marks and such kind of signs here. It's like saying, it's like down saying, I'm sorry for bothering you. And we are, this is especially for the construction company. We are doing a safe fast. So please do not punish me or something, or please, we will have a cooperation with you. So it's very interesting. In many cases, bothering people is an evil in this country. For the same reason, until recently, Japanese people did not like to take a day off when they were sick. This is because when they were out of their office, someone else in the office was forced to do their work. They don't want to bother the co-workers when they were already short of labor force. It's same structures. Actually, how many minutes I have?
I think 20 minutes more.
Okay, good. Okay. So before my analysis of the COVID-19's organizational behavior in Japan, first let me check the structure of Japan. Okay, this part is very quick. But during with the COVID-19, this is sushi. I'm actually starving. Okay, and the unemployment rate is rising right now after the COVID-19, and employment rate and the number of workers with change in month-to-month ratio. And the COVID-19 hit the women's workers because half of them is a part-time worker. So the company cut them off. Let's see, this next. And the employment of women has not recovered. Let's see. This is I'm serious. This blue line is a total rapers, and what was the woman, and this is men, and basically this is throw down. So fundamentals. If you have an interest in Japan, our fundamentals is we are decreasing the population. Look at this. This is 2020, and this kind of shape. I don't think that your countries are not only Indonesia but also Thai or all over the countries. You are the population ratio is not shaped not like this. So look at this blue line. This is the person who work for the work in the company, but this is just part and a lot of old people there. And this is estimation. So the blue line is age 0 to 14s, and red line is workers population age 15 to 64, and green line is over 65. And this is now in here. And red line is going to be narrow, and the green line going to be bigger. So our biggest problem is the decreasing the population. So what is the impact? Yes, we have a good impact and bad impact. See, the COVID-19 disaster made it necessary for us to make a decision via digital screen. And for us, this is very, yes, we have a lot of IT and Wi-Fi, but most of us believes is meeting face-to-face is the best way to have a negotiation, not via the digital screen. Another aspect, change of the working style. There has been the working style reform since around 2015 due to the population is decreasing and shortage of the laborers. By increasing the part-time employment, we have been able to compensate for the labor shortage. And workplaces is eliminated by COVID-19. A lot of restaurants and a lot of the service sectors is not only, yes, is of course airline also, is eliminated by the COVID-19. So they look at this one, and the so-called Japanese way of working. And I want to say it's many people know that, but I want to just wrap up. Long overtime workers cannot go home until their boss doesn't. Loyalty, companies a family, longer training period. I call the characteristic of the working style in Japanese company similar middle-aged male network society. So similar middle-aged, we call ojisan in Japanese. So we call the ojisan society, middle-aged male networking society. In Japan, companies basically hire new graduates at once in April. So for a graduate in March and join the company in April. And in many cases, long-term employment has been preferred. The basis of recruiting there is where you fit our company cultures. So there are my students, in the undergraduate student says that the most popular way of rejecting is you are not fit to my company. So the basis of the recruiting, yes, will you fit our company's cultures? This is tricky one, since it's impossible to quantify whether or not you are good or good fit. It's kind of baggy decisions. As a result, the company has attracted a lot of male employees from similar background. And this reasons the woman is not loved by the workers. I mean, at the time, because they said that they have a life event like pregnant and married or something like that. Let's see. Middle-aged male network society in Japan, being together for a long time, and male, and they really like following the rules of the community, and they are very obedient because if they don't follow them, it means going against group discipline, and they may not get promoted. So the obeying, or so the for the COVID-19, okay, the neighborhood is stopped going. So never okay, the next company or the company is the other company A is stop going to the office. Okay, company B and C is just say, okay, we need to stop going because it has a rule. The not the written rule, but we say it's just a kind of a dark rule we say. Ambiguity due to the assumption for the long time employment. The length of the time in being together affects the invisible part of the evaluation. So Japanese is love to go to the office. It's important, interesting. My business school sometimes hires a person who work for the Japanese banks, but for the part time. But most of them say, "Oh, can I go to the office at 8 o'clock or something?" And we said, no, your class start at 12, so you can if you can come if you want, but we can't. You need to come. I just say. So many people, the good business person say no, okay, because I always go to the office at around 8 o'clock, so I need to go. So it's very interesting to watch them. So let's see. It's interesting. The reason for this is on the and evaluation is kind of ambiguous. So this is the data from the NDT.com research. The result, survey personal education, and evaluation or criteria is unclear. Most of Japanese people think that evaluation is unclear. But because we have not evaluation but written, so the stay with a long time and know each other is very important for most of male Ojisan society. This is
Okay,
just
10 minutes left.
okay. And harmonious blessing is like among Japanese business people to prepare for the other person's actions by this is it. The basis of Japanese communication is harmony. Pre-verbal communication is also important. Emphasis has been on guessing. Questions of similar male. The larger of companies. This is interesting because look at that one. This is for 20 years of the big companies, men and female ratio. It's keep 7% 70-30. So it means that the Japanese are higher like prefer to hire not only hire the men. So what would change the how by the COVID-19? So the harmonious blessing is impossible. This is Japanese, the middle-aged society is kind of low, evaluated not based on the being together. So the COVID-19, we cannot stay together. So that we have another role. This is an opportunity to let this is. So, what is needed for leadership in the new normal era in Japan? I'm always thinking is my analysis is two stuff, barbarization and observations. On our barbarization scale, for that, it is essential to observe with an interest. What and how should we do exactly? Observe, need 5 steps. Observe with interest, barbarize, guess as a mindset, speak to make others understood, speak in order that others will understand. And how? Yes, speak and express, and human feels stress in down output, letting them produce output and doing in themselves have both of leadership skills. But I'm sure that it looks weird, but Japanese basically we do not emphasize on the brush up the barbarization. So I'm sure we need it. So can't have you? Yes, this is okay. I'm sure I don't have a time, so that's it. And I just saying, can we change? Yeah, maybe. Either way, the near future, we will have a hard time because of the COVID-19 hit the structure of Japanese society. It means that long time working together and evaluation is come from the long time working. It's called the 360 degrees evaluation, some people say, but basically it's kind of an ambiguous evaluation. So we need to fix it up. Anyway, finally, the kite race highest against the wind not with it. So it's wisdom church's words, and I really like it. I'm sure Japan has a lot of difficulty from now on, but maybe we can do it. So I think it's time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Asako. This is very interesting to know that the participation of women in employment in Japanese is what we call it then slower than the male in a company. And also, you know that in COVID-19 era, many employees in Japan are working at home. It means that you know that the Japanese style of working when they are working longer and they won't go home before their boss, will not going again.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's changed a lot. What we call it then, working condition in Japan, I think.
Yes.
And I want to know further, probably we can discuss later about the women participation, especially in COVID-19, because we know that there are many employees working at home. So I think the what we call it then, women participation working at home can be joined or increased in the Japanese employees. Okay. So we'll have a short break for 5 minutes, but before the breaks, I would like to greet the Dr. Supara. Welcome. Are you here with me, with us today, Dr. Supara?
Oh, yes. Can you hear?
Yes, clearly.
Hello.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
everyone.
Hello. Okay, we'll have 5 minutes breaks and we'll meet again at 9:55.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hello. We cannot hear you very well.
Okay. Okay, test. Can you hear me?
Now I think we can hear you, but before that, no.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay then. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay, welcome back to the conference. We are now in the second panel session with the first speaker in the second session, Professor Dr. Budi Eko Sucipto. Hello, Professor.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. Okay, let me introduce you about him first. Dr. Budi Eko Sucipto is one young professor in Universitas Negeri Malang. He got his doctor and master from Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia. He was formerly Dean of Faculty of Economics, Universitas Negeri Malang, and also the former Chair of Management Department. And he is now Vice Rector 1 of Academic Affairs or Issues. No wonder that he has already published numerous articles related to his expertise in organizational behavior, general management, and also classroom action. And in this conference, Professor Sucipto will present about potential challenges and prospect of business, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises in creative industries, specifically in Indonesian context. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Budi Eko Sucipto. Time is yours, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Lohana, and also all participants in this international conference. Okay, let me share screen first. Can you see my slide, Ibu Lohana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is a great honor for me to be a speaker in this conference together with the speaker from Malaysia, Japan, and Thailand. I observed that the two speakers, I think, already present their paper, I think, in interesting way, I think, and I agree with Professor Tamat Sarmidi that all nations now around the world has a twin crisis for health and the economy, I think. And also, I also agree with Professor Asako Takada that everyone should aware with their health because of this pandemic. So we have to want everybody to be aware about this pandemic, because we don't want to spread our virus to other people. So everybody must keep their health, I think. Okay, the committee doesn't ask me for specific theme, I think, for this conference, but I try to feel about the broad theme of this conference, the potential challenges and prospect for economy and business in the new normal. So my presentations, I think, has three important things. The first one is about new normal era, and the second one, economic recovery and micro and small and medium enterprises and sector that develops during the pandemic and new era. The first presenter, I think, Professor Tamat Sarmidi, and also the second presenter, Professor Asako, already remind us about the potential, and the potential and challenges, I think, and this new normal, and also Professor Tamat Sarmidi also mentioned about the potential sector such as pharmaceutical related products, I think, is growing up, I think. And because of the new normal era, we just want to remind other people that everyone should aware about their health. I think if I observe in mall, I think there are a lot of people using masks. I think and wash the hands. I think and keep distance. I think so. In the mall, I think there are a lot of people. Shop over there, and they still using protocol, the tight protocol. So everyone should wash a hand and then use masker, and then the temperature also just to make sure that the visitor, I think, is health in the health condition. And this also happened in our institution, just like university. I think everybody should wear mask, even though they have a meeting. I think they have to use mask. I think and keep distance at least 2 meters. Yeah, one to one. I think, yeah. And this is interesting because we didn't experience before, I think, before the pandemic. But right now, when the pandemic happened, now everyone aware. I think even in the market, traditional market, people at least people use a mask. I think this is the new normal. So it's individual to adapt the new social life patterns and that influence business and the business words, I think. And this business, this kind of activity also influence to the wedding organizer. I think they have they have difficulties to find a new customer. I think because of this pandemic. Because I think my students work as a wedding organizer. Also, we discuss about it, and they feel that the business is going slow down. I think, but other sectors, I think, has impacted with the pandemic. Next, the new normal is finally like two sides of coin. On one hand, and this is opportunity, but for the others, I think this is a handicap. For those who find it is difficult to adapt, new normal is an obstacle that can disrupt business. Okay, as I tell you previously, that a business just like tourism, I think tourism and also transportations and wedding organizer, I think is highly affected by this pandemic. Meanwhile, for those who are optimistic and able to see opportunities, new normal is an opportunity to develop themselves, including in the entrepreneurship. This optimistic attitude and seeing this crisis from a positive perspective should be embedded in the spirit of Indonesian entrepreneur.
Excuse me, Professor, would you please do slideshow your presentation?
Okay.
Can you really see that?
Okay, is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so this is the health protocol. So so the need for mutual awareness to do activities outside the home while still being disciplined in implementing health protocol. These protocols include wearing face masks, washing hands diligently, maintaining distance, avoiding crowds, and not leaving the house if not necessary. These are the keys to Indonesian success in the new era of normal economy. Economic recovery. I think Professor Tamat has already told us about this matter. I think not only in Malaysia but also in Indonesia and other regions in the world that they have to make economic recovery. Professor Tamat already noticed that the statistical data, I think, for each country in the world or afterwards, I think, decrease. Yeah, and the economy is going slow down, and the growth, I think, is minus also. Yeah, but we hope that in 2021, I think the economic growing very well. I think, and we have to anticipate and make a strategy. I think, economic strategy that will increase the economics. I think. So economics recovery is urgent matter to do after healthcare. The sector that should be prioritized to be safe is micro and small and medium enterprises as the backbone of the country's economy, ranging from traders of vegetables, fruits, food stalls, home industries to grocery stores. I think when I observe in Thailand, Malaysia, I think the situation is just like in Indonesia. Philippines also, I think, because micro and small and medium enterprises, especially those who are making business in the food and drinks, I think is very similar with our country, I think. And data show that in 2018, the number of micro and small and medium enterprises were recorded 64.2 million units, absorbing 75% of the total workforce and 99% of the total employment. The atmosphere of COVID-19 pandemic, these micro and small and medium enterprises are feel the impact of a tremendous sluggishness. Okay, so because of this data, I try to explore more. I think what kind of sector that can be explored. I think can be used to increase the economics in Indonesia and also in my city in Malang. And a sector that developed during the pandemic, according to Aveliani, he is an economist, food, pharmacy, and information and communication technology. So food, I think, is an interesting thing because in the pandemic era, just like today's, I think people want to eat the healthy foods, including fast food that is easy to get, I think, or other kind of food packaging from cafeteria, I think. In short, people want to buy or to get that foods, I think, easily, without going out to the shop or to the mall, or to get the foods, I think. And pharmacy, I think. Pharmacy is also one sector that very much growing, because the awareness of people of consuming, I think, vitamin, ranging from vitamin A, C, I think, just to keep their body immune, I think, they are aware that to prevent the pandemic, to prevent the disease, I think it is better for the people to keep their body health, I think. So vitamins and also juice, something like that, can be consumed by people to maintain their health. And also information and communication technology. Herbal drinks, just like health juice, I think, this also sector that develop very much, I think. The corona pandemic has made people aware about the importance of health and maintaining body immunity. Thus, the herbal drink health juice business is a very good prospect in this new era. Health food catering, as I told you previously, that pandemic is still a frightening specter for the community. So many people are looking to switch to eating a healthy diet. In addition, catering menu packages with the popular type of diet are currently popular with many consumers today. Some people want to keep their body ideal or take advantage of the moment of working at home to have a healthy diet. And frozen business, I think this is also growing in our, at least in our city in Malang, because I saw that so many frozen foods, I think, is offered by the sellers, I think. It is easy to get and also easy to keep, because when we buy and then we put it in the refrigerator, I think everything is well maintained, I think. And if someone want to cook, they only take from the good from the fridge, and I think, and then start to cooking, I think. And working from home for a long time and fear of leaving the house has made the frozen food business currently very popular with the public, practical, durable, and cheap. And the main choices for people to choose frozen foods as food ingredients, so that the frozen food business is very profitable. Local tourism, I think, because like me, since the beginning of January, right now, usually, I didn't go anywhere. Usually, in the normal year, I have traveled to around the world, I think, at least in Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe or Australia. But right now, because of this pandemic, I have to postpone my travel. We consider also about the procedure or the protocol when we fly to Australia, when we fly to Malaysia or Thailand or Japan. I think just like procedure protocols, because the protocol says that every passenger should using rapid test or swab test, I think, because it's very frightening, and because of that, we don't want to go to overseas or even in Jakarta or in the big cities in Indonesia. Yes, local travel business was also badly affected during COVID-19. Although slowly, there is a bright spot for local tourism destination. This is because there is a possibility that the process of traveling abroad will be difficult. So people who have a hobby of traveling will tend to choose local destination. Okay, as I told previously, that going abroad, I think, is very difficult. Now, people who are boring for the 6 months, I think, starting from March up to now, I think people not going they stay at home and stay at the office. I think they are boring, and they try to make something refreshing, including going to somewhere in Indonesia, I think, in local tourism. So this is an opportunity also for the business owner, especially those working in local tourism, to attract or offer a package for local tourism. Yeah. And yes, this can be used by travel owner who are starting to develop strategies for the new normal in Indonesia, as expand domestic holiday offering and find out more about places that not many people know about. So this is opportunity also for the business owner, to offer the interesting packets, I think. Mass, I think, this producing mass, I think, is also beneficial right now. But I think the profit is not high compared to the first pandemic, because when we look at mass in the kiosk or in the pharmacy is not available. But right now in the street, I think there are a lot of people offering mass, I think. So I don't know whether producing mass, I think, is still profitable or not. But the consumption or the needs for having mass, I think, is very growing, I think. The creative economy sectors in our city, especially in Malang city, experienced growth during the COVID-19 pandemics. This happened because the wheel of the economic cycle continued to grow and develop in the micro, small and medium enterprises sectors and other creative industries. Head of Diaspora's Creative Economy Development Section, Bapak Agung Buana, said that the creative industry in Malang can grow because it takes advantage of technological development. This is done by starting to market their product online and posting them to social media and marketplace. When my friend has have difficulty in marketing their product, I think they are now tend to advertise their product. This is for micro business, I think, using social media, and then social and then so many order come and their business growing up, I think. So we have to be aware that using social media and other platform can help people to overcome the problem of advertising the product, because we cannot sell the product directly on offering people directly. We need to adapt with the new situation. We used to use Facebook, WhatsApps, I think, Instagram, I think, and so on and so forth to advertise our product, especially for micro business, I think. Food and drink, until now, the growth has been around 30% because this business actor have digital accounts, both in the social media and in the marketplace. Turnover is precisely from there, he said, Agung, Agung said that the food and drink sector had a significant growth. Moreover, in the midst of this pandemic, many buyers take advantage of the courier services used to deliver their order. Especially for small sample, my family and I always frequently order some food, I think, for dinner or for lunch, I think, by ordering the food through GoFood and GrabFood. I think it's very easy to deliver, very easy to pay, very easy to deliver, and then we don't need to go out to pick up our food and drink. I think just like that, and everyone. I observe also. I notice also that people use the same thing what I did previously, I think, because they think that they want to something easy to do. Pharmacy, I think the coronavirus pandemic or COVID-19, which has suppressed many economic activities, has had a positive impact on a number of companies. One of the industrial sector that has made a big profit is a pharmaceutical industry sector, which sell drugs. I think this also mentioned by Professor Tamat previously. The state-owned company like PT Kimia Pharma claim to have pocketed revenues up to 1.8 trillion. And this revenue was driven by the increasing demand for a number of kimia products during the coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. And throughout the first quarter of 2020, Kalbe Pharma posted net sales up to 5.8 trillion. And this number grew by 8.01% compared to the same period the previous year, which amounted to 5.37 trillion. Information and communication technology, as we are aware that the use of internet, I think, is very increasing in this pandemic, because like in my institution now, and the process of teaching and learning using online, whether synchronous or asynchronous, and using our learning management system, LMS, I think. And also this also happen for the level of elementary or primary school, and then senior high school, and yeah, until to university level. I think all student in a variety of level, I think, using internet. So the needs for having internet network, I think Wi-Fi, I think, is very high. So the provider, just like Telkom, Indosat, I think, get big profit about their business during the pandemic situation like this, I think. Digital services, I think this also growing up, I think. The President Director of Telkomsel, Setianto Hantono, said that during the work from home WFH period, the connectivity consumption of middle upper class customer soared up to 60%. However, the use of low-end connectivity services tend to go down. So overall, the connectivity business tends to be flat, and there is a significant increase in digital consumption. The increase in consumption of digital services includes the increase in the use of Telkomsel to watch movie and play games. Next, hotel, I think, until July 2020, I think the rate of occupancy hotels in Indonesia, according to Haryadi Sukamdani, that the rate of occupancy until in the middle of July, on average 20%. But right now, I noticed that some hotel, I think, already offer the packets, interesting packet, and of course the price of hotel rooms, I think, is increasing, because starting from tomorrow, I think Wednesday to Sunday, we have five day holidays. It means that the people want to go somewhere, want to look for something fresh. Including me. I want to go to out of the city tomorrow, and I use this opportunity to make holiday with my family, and I noticed also the hotel occupancy in Batu, I think next to Malang, I think 20 kilometers west of Malang, I think so many hotels available in Batu, and now the rate of occupancy during this 5 days holiday, I think amounting 60 to 80% occupancy. And my friend who are resigns before from the hotel, now they are hired again with the hotel manager to work again, I think. So we do hope that the situation will grow until next year, because hotels, I think, one of the sectors that heavily impacted with this pandemic.
Okay, 5 minutes left, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I just want to the mentions about the Grabs and GoFood roles in supporting Indonesia economic resilience. Okay, in short, that Grabs and also GoFood, I think, providing a lot of employment, I think. So as I told you that in the pandemics, I think the micro business, I think, that have really impacted from this pandemic. And these two platform, I think, Grabs and GoFood, Gojek, something like that, providing a lot of employment, I think. So this is very easy to apply. This is very easy to manage, I think. And especially the business, the food delivery, I think. I think it's enough. I think that's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Budi. Well, listening your presentation, it releases us, especially me somehow, because it vibrates the enthusiasm related to the Indonesian economy prospect, especially in Malang. Since you give us the fact that the local economy are still growing, yeah, and if we what we call it that if every region can fulfill their needs, I think it will generate the economy of the region, and it show us again that the micro, small, and medium enterprises in Indonesia are the backbone of the economy. So it seems like feels like we do not worry too much about with the COVID-19 because the local economy is running well, I think. Yeah. So thank you, Professor Budi, for sharing with us, and I hope you all enjoy the presentation. Okay, now we are moving to the last but not least speaker. We'll have the lovely lady from Thailand, Dr. Suparak Surankit. I hope I pronounced it well.
That's fine. Yeah, great.
Okay, hello, doctor. May I introduce you first?
Hello.
I
Sure.
have video on. Oh, yeah, really lovely lady, yeah?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. Well, I would like to introduce Dr. Suparak first. Dr. Suparak is professional worker in multinational companies in Thailand before she is moving to be an academician. She got her bachelor in business administration and master of science in management information system from University of Maryland, USA, and also got her PhDs, two, not one, yeah, two PhDs from Mahidol University and Macquarie University, Australia. Wow. She is now an assistant dean, head of business and community relations, and head of business excellence. She was also an award winner of Royal Golden Jubilee Scholars and Macquarie University Research Excellence Scholarships in 2015. Her expertise and specialization are in leadership, sustainable development, corporate sustainability, CSR, and I noticed one really interesting is Buddhist-based management. Oh, yeah, it's really contextual to Thailand, yeah. And her current research is now focusing on corporate well-being, happiness and sustainability, and sustainable leadership and strategic business transformation, and many others actually. She is also active as visiting lecturer and published numerous referred publications, and some of them winning Best Papers awards. No wonder, yeah. She will interactively sharing with us about COVID-19 impacts and sustainable development. So, Dr. Suparak, time is yours now.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this very prestigious conference with all the professors and very nice group of attendees. Okay, so what I would like to share with you today is really my research and perspectives on the COVID-19 insights and also the impacts on the sustainable developments and some suggesting possible pragmatic how to survive and thrive in the new normal management towards sustainability. So actually I would start with the questions. Very importantly, I think everyone's are asking two very important questions today. The first one's what are the COVID impacts, right? And the second is how to survive or thrive, in the new normal management towards sustainability. So let me first talk about the first question: what are the COVID impacts? Okay, so indeed, I think everyone understand that the COVID impacts are, has really adversely affected the world. Every one of us in all sectors, and astonishingly, the number of the COVID, cases, infected cases has, escalated every day. 2 days, I think, as of yesterday that I checked it. We have about 43 million cases of COVID-19 infections and with more than 1.15 million deaths, around the world. And since early the February 2020, the crisis has put all the governments to really apply health and safety measures and such as lockdown, shelter in place, and social distancing to prevent populations from the infections. So, right now there are several economic and social activities that were limited and posing unprecedented challenges to all business and employments around the world. The impacts have yet to be measured deeply as countries, communities, and locals have different shares of the adversities. So, what are the COVID impacts really at the macroeconomic perspective? So I'd like to share with you various sources of the statistics that I had gathered. Um, Obviously it has negatively impacts all the GDPs in all countries around the world, and we're experiencing some loss of employments in every continent. The World Bank announced that the COVID-19 pandemic is leading to a global recession. So let me share with you quickly with some of the statistic and my presentation here. I hope everyone can see my presentations at the moment.
Yes. Would you please
Great.
do slideshow it? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. Okay, so right now here's the statistic as I mentioned to you. I just checked yesterday. With millions of cases, of infections and death. At the macroeconomic data, the World Bank announced that the COVID-19 pandemic crisis is leading to a global recession, as I mentioned. The World Bank forecasted about 5.2 contractions of the global economy, and every even in one of the fastest growing economy like Southeast Asia, the IMF has projected at a slow growth, and ranging from negative 6.7 to 2.7%. The IMF also estimated that the Thailand's GDP would favorably reduce to negative 6.7%, which make the countries become one of the hardest hit economies in the regions. And even the Bank of Thailand forecasts further decrease of the GDP to negative 8.1% in June. Okay, so all these diverse sources also anticipated that any economics and social recovery would take a longer time than expected, and businesses may not revive until next year. Okay, so what are the COVID impacts on the social dimensions and particularly employment? With the COVID-19 crisis, many of the employments, has, unemployment has happened around the world. It really reduced the working hours due to the closure of businesses, corporations, school, university, and various institutions. So in an announcement of the World Economic Forums, the UN Work Agency warned that the COVID-19 could adversely lead to hundreds of millions of people to unemployment. And the current G7 job list totals vary widely, from 30 million in the US to 1.76 million in Japan. I think the number probably have changed, or there are more right now. And several European governments have moderately increased in unemployment with generous wage subsidies. The latest data from the International Labor Organization, so ILO, on the labor market impact of the COVID-19 pandemic also reveal a very shocking effect on worker losses of working hours hours, millions of unemployments, and reduced productivities of hundreds of millions of enterprise worldwide. And as the job loss, really escalated, nearly half the global workforce is still at risk, and in Thailand too, right? And I think in many Southeast Asia countries also experiencing the same thing. So these impacts and uncertainties could take a heavy toll on people losing their livelihoods and mental well-being. Okay, so next I would like to specifically, share with you what's the COVID impact in Southeast Asia and the ASEAN. ASEAN we refer to associations of Southeast Asian nations that's comprising 10 member countries. In ASEAN, many countries are still experiencing, very big challenges, by the COVID-19 pandemic. As of yesterday, there are over 890,000 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 infections, with over 21,000 deaths in Asia. Yeah, and in ASEAN. Yeah, due to the crisis, ASEAN is facing a major challenge to move the sustainable development forward. So, actually, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, ASEAN has long, put focus on the top 5, priorities action toward the sustainable development. Namely, poverty eradication, infrastructure and connectivity, sustainable management and of national resources, sustainable production and consumptions, and resilience. As addressed in the ASEAN Community Visions 2025 and its complementarities roadmap, that's linked to the UN SDG. The Vision 2030. Okay, so this ASEAN roadmap is also in line, as I mentioned, with the UN Global Agenda 2030s and the 17th Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, and many of us may have heard. So these really help forging ahead, the further possibilities for collaborations and partnership with countries within and outside the regions. Okay, so the COVID-19 crisis put poverty eradications in ASEAN further as one of the most adversely impacted areas, and not only on the economic dimensions, but also other dimensions. So actually, this crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, has also raised a big concern on resilience. And so when we talk about the resilience, it's not only on the ecological, systems or on the environmental dimensions, but this one, the hardest hit is on the economic crisis as well. So the questions, is really how we can, find, possible solutions, or what are, some suggested implications, that we can move forward, or at least, all these ASEAN nations can help each other with the collaborations or partnership, to go forward with the post COVID crisis. So as a result, my research team, of experts is now working on this specific topic, and we are a team of 15 multidisciplinary experts, researchers, and assistants. We are undertaking the project, that's actually funded by ACSDSD, or the ASEAN. I think it's called the ASEAN for Sustainable Development and Dialogues, and also the studies on the sustainable developments and COVID-19 pandemics in ASEAN. So what's the project, is all about? Is really related to the COVID effects, the impacts, and also how we can move forward into how the sustainable development, can go forward. So that's pretty much, the center of the this project. So actually, hopefully, when the project's at the completion, I hope to be able to share with you later on. But in brief, I can share with you some of the ongoing, research and some of the perspective or that I can share with you. So as I mentioned to you that the COVID-19 pandemics had really badly hit, all economic and social dimensions, of all nations in every sector. So many governments around the world is, enforcing, stringent measures. So what really happened in the ASEAN region during the COVID-19 outbreak in the second quarter of this year, or the first half of 2020. Let me share with you, some of the research we found, what's going on in ASEAN, when the COVID-19 pandemic hits,
Okay.
So actually, various governments um, enforce or implements multiple measures such as travel restriction, lockdowns measures. Many of them announce curfews. To ensure that people are safe. At least from the infections. And most of the land borders were closed, or some of many nations are still closing their border at the moment with sort of we call the second wave or of the outbreak. And all the commercial flights, international flights also were also suspended. So this the impact actually is massive, right? So some of the example measures that happening in ASEAN member countries, I can share with you, like for example Thailand's declare state of emergency, ban all entries from all countries, right? But right now it's a little bit relaxed. Yeah, the Singapore government announced the circuit breaker, a stringent set of preventive measures. Malaysia announced a nationwide movement control order, or MCO, to really mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 through social distancing, travel restriction. Indonesia has also applied the large scale restrictions, right, for some regencies and cities. The Philippines issued proclamation number 929, declaring that the Philippines are under a state of calamities, and also announced the lockdowns, known as the community quarantines throughout the countries. The Brunei government banned massive movement and gatherings like weddings, sport events, and also announced a 1 week closure for all mosques in the country. Okay, so these are the various measures that happened in ASEAN. So importantly, this research that I lead, the project focus on studying the effects, how this COVID-19 affects, on particular the key two key economic backbone sectors, particularly the agriculture and industry, which are the backbones, sectors in, many and multiple ASEAN nations. And, we will, look at, what are the commonalities, what are the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats, from the COVID-19, and how can, all of us, or all these countries, ASEANs particularly, can help each other to move forward, and to have certain resolutions or policy implications to further collaborate toward the sustainable development. Okay. So when we look at the impact of the COVID-19's particular, they have badly affected in certain area of what we call the ASEAN complementarities framework, namely the poverty eradication, sustainable productions and consumption, and resilience. So the disruptions of the economies escalated the poverty problem around these regions even further. And the actions of the people to cope with the pandemics and adapt to the lockdown periods increased the volume of waste. Yeah, a lot of waste during the lockdowns, and so this gonna affect our achievement on the sustainable consumptions and productions. And due to the fact that the COVID-19, have a lot of, impact on our economies, so that's really put, the ASEAN's, economies very vulnerable to these disruptions, from the measures, from the pandemics, and so roughly from the research, we found that actually ASEANs are need to really look at a more um, resilience recovery. Okay, so as I mentioned, we hope that at the end of the my research, we can really identifying some of the recovery directions and integrative ASEAN policy implications, and particularly based on Thailand's perspective and towards what we call the future collaborative partnership for sustainable development and sustainability in Asia. Okay, so you can look further in the complementarities between ASEAN Community Visions 2025 and the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. If anyone interested, that's the framework also, and that's the focus of our research. Yeah, and these are the 17 UN SDGs goals that we try to map, how we can also achieve the 2030 agenda also. Okay, so actually there are many, and multiple international organizations' opinions on the COVID-19 crisis and possible way forward. So let me share with you a little bit. And as I mentioned, the COVID has impact on the various dimension, from the environmental dimension, economic dimensions, and also the social dimensions. So the UN, and the World Bank both agree that they have to refocus, on the poverty that has been sort of increasing a lot, during the pandemic. According to the UNDP, the COVID-19 crisis has unfavorably alter a protracted and deeply social and economic stability in our countries, and pushing more people into the poverty, as I mentioned to you. So that's really weaken the social and labor protections in these countries, and of course the inequalities in income and access to opportunities. So you can see that there are various UN SDG goals that has been impacted by the COVID-19, and the UNDP's position notes on social and economic impact of the COVID-19 in Asia Pacific, also call on the countries to avoid returning to the pre-pandemic environmentally unsustainable development path, and to capitalize on the opportunity to build a better future. As you have seen, I mean, there's a little bit of the one good side of the COVID-19 pandemic, that due to the lockdown, of the factories, everyone stay at home, work from home, so environmental a little bit safe. I mean, there's not too much of the CO2 emissions into the air, so the airs become cleaner, the oceans a little bit, the fish probably more happy, with the greener environment. Okay, so the World Bank also put forward that we need for urgent actions to lessen the pandemic's health and economic consequences, protect the vulnerable populations, and set the stage for a lasting recovery. Okay, so these various institutes, like intergovernmental organizations, sort of agree on the severe and adverse effects of the COVID-19. Yeah, so next, what's more important than what's happening at the moment is how can we, really survive and thrive, in the new normal management toward the sustainable development. Okay, so one of the alternative ways to tackle the COVID-19 crisis is to take an integrative approach of strategic and stakeholder management with a pragmatic view. Okay, so the first approach I would like to sort of propose to you is on a strategic management for sustainability approach, a strategic approach that addressed in one of my previous research is called the strategic management for sustainability that's published in Sustainability Journal. Is based on a bibliometric review, over the past 30 years. So if anyone interested, you can, search, with my name on it and on sustainability. So you probably find, the article. Okay, and you can go and deeply and look at how we can strategically manage for sustainability. Okay, and the second maneuver is consistent with the people focused actions of the UN SDG by considering a stakeholder approach to cope with the COVID-19 crisis. And so let me share with you a little bit the formulations that I would like to propose for recovering, or at least toward resilience and sustainability from the COVID-19 pandemic. And so this integrative sort of framework of the UN SDG actually provide us, a more systematic way of looking at sustainability, and also an enabler to a systematic value creations of all stakeholder and society, and hopefully everyone will be in harmony. I think that's the goal, and how we can balance, of these 17 dimensions. So apart from the SDG, as I mentioned, right now I would like to share with you a 5 strategic formula, right? That is based on the word COVID. So that can be an alternative remedy to survive and thrive, in the new normal management towards sustainability and sustainable development. So the formula is called the COVID strategy. The COVID, each of the words C, O, V, I, D stand for different things. Yeah. And start with, the C, is about capacity building for resilience. Yeah, actually, this is a strategic actions for the COVID crisis. We would like to call for greater development of necessary skills and competency through upskilling and reskilling the people, particularly the vulnerable groups or the disadvantaged groups, to be more agile, to be more resilient, to have the competency or capabilities to go back, to work, particularly in the disruptive world. Yeah, and to quickly respond, and adapt to change. So that's a very important skill at the moment, and that can be done through education or trainings. I think, the governmental institutes, or at our academic institutes can perhaps help with the capacity building for resilience in this one. And particularly, as I and many of us work in the business schools or management school, we need to also focus or oriented, the thinking of our students, their behavior and actions toward sustainable development, how we can support and foster good health, well-being, and employability, during the job loss, disruption, digital transformation. We can train, them, our student, or the, vulnerable group, the new normal businesses operations during the post-COVID crisis. Okay, and at the longer term, all parties and the stakeholder need to strategically strategically plans and holistically implements all economic, environmental, and social dimensions into more meaningful way, more integrative way, and to foster resilience and capacity building to uncertainties in the environment. Okay, so this C, or the capacity building for resilience, is very much links to the ASEAN Community Vision 2025 and the complementarities roadmap. Okay, and it's also linked to the UN SDG, particularly SDG 10, to lessen the inequality. Okay, the
You have
next,
minutes
yeah,
left. You have
yes.
5 minutes left.
Okay, sure. For the O, we look at for the opportunity seeking. Okay, so this one, we hope that all of the quick governmental stimulus and various institution fundings, may be the sources to help the job creation for the people, for the new or local businesses to improve their livelihood, their well-being, of the impacted community, and lessens the suffering in the society. And the new social contract need to be reformed. Sufficiency thinking for sustainable development may be promoted, and sufficiency thinking, you can read, there's a book about it, and I am one of the co-author on it. It talk about an alternative solutions to the traditional consumerisms and the traditional capitalism prior to the COVID crisis. That may be another alternative solution. Okay, so when we look at the opportunity seekings, we can pave a pathway forward for further collaborations and rising against our odds, and we look at the opportunities. We'll also link to UN SDG 1, 2, 3, 6 to 9, 11 to 17 towards sustainable development. Okay. For the vulnerable protection, we have to also, as I mentioned to you previously, the vulnerable and disadvantaged group should also be helped, and supported. So this one also linked toward the UN SDG 1 to 5, 8, 10, 16 to 17. Okay, the I stand for integrated partnership and inclusion. Actually, I have mentioned the word partnership several times. We also need to include, all stakeholders, the society, the business, all the various stakeholders should really get together and create good partnership and leave no one behind, in this pandemic crisis. And particularly this one, the integrated partnership and inclusion linked to UN SDG 17. Okay. Last but not least is about the D, determinations for development. And I think the COVID-19 has really put a wake up call to everyone's, in terms of the, environmental, economics, and social instabilities of the world, and so that's mean we have to move forward to rethinking about what we have done previously and what we're going to do after the post-COVID, become more responsible or put greater responsibilities to make change for future transformations, for more balance, and to support sustainable development for people in every nations and around the world. And hopefully, with these determinations for developments, we can all together, achieve the UN SDG and also the ASEAN roadmap. Okay, so toward the ends already, I hope that we do not forget that everyone's are interconnected in this world. From our society, our planet. And we are just a part of the larger system. Of the ecosystem. So we have to also try to balance. How we live together. In those three triad dimension, as I mentioned to you, the economic, environmental, and also the social dimensions. Okay, so try to understand the reciprocity and unified relationship among all stakeholders should be respected, and changing our strategic and humanistic management paradigms for strategic sustainability and resilience are required at all levels. Okay, so at the end, I would like to put forward, and with a big highlight that a strategic collaboration and partnership among various stakeholders are much needed, than ever before to advance our sustainability practices and to help create a more sustainable future together. Okay, so that's pretty much all for me. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much for such inspiring presentation, Dr. Suparak. You know that in the beginning, Professor Tamat Sarmidi shared also the pandemic equilibrium, also the formula, and Dr. Suparak also give us the strategy formula called COVID strategy. So I think Dr. Suparak shared the broadest, broad range of UN SDGs, which is impacted by the COVID-19. And it realized me also that there are a collaboration and working together in a project, complementaries between Asian Community Vision 2025. So nice to hear that, and looking forward to hear the progress of this project. Okay, now we go on to, we are moving to the third session, which is waiting by the participant to join with the question and answer session. I think there are many, already, so enthusiastic, the participants. We now have already 760 participants. Wow. So many, and I think we have first, we have Bu Rike Retnosari. Okay, Bu Rike asked to Dr. Asako Takada. Here the question. May I ask about the emotions control of the labor of people who have worked in Japan, and how can they handle the situation in this pandemic? Are they do their job as usually with long hours? Apologize if I had mistaken, because the information that I got was from YouTube. And is there any deep depression about this situation to managing their life? Thank you. That's from Burika.
Okay, thank you. And it's kind of interesting, good questions. Honestly, we are very calm right now. Actually, yes, at April, and basically we do not panic right now because it's, do you remember we have an Olympic game maybe on 2021? So the sentiment of the emotion is just say, okay, this is, it's gonna be finished maybe within a year or something like that. And it's a COVID, concerning to the COVID-19, we patient, the rate is pretty low. So it's we are very positive about that one. But on the other hand, the people is shocked about the work style is changing right now, especially for the old male workers is very shocked and depressed because their way of working is denied or just say so. But interesting, but then it's from the all of the statistics rate, it's very stable or it's pretty lower than the COVID-19. So our conclude, I think maybe we are now in the normacy bias right now. So just we pick up the good information and believe that it's safe, it's okay, it's okay. But the strategies side, many people is thinking about the new stage. So the emotion, we are stable right now. Yes.
Okay. What do you think, Bu Rika? I hope it's answer your question. Okay, thank you, Dr. Asako, to answer the question. And now we move to another question. It is from Ibu Tri Setia Wijijayanti to all panelists, but probably specifically to Prof. Tamat Sarmidi. Here the question. You said that the economic of the world will recover at least in 2030 by research. Would it applies in all aspects? How do you explain? Please recover in this content. And how about the position of aviation and technology or digital business, which played many significant roles in our lives before and during this pandemic in recovery time? Yeah.
Okay, thank you
Subscribe
for the
please.
questions. On the recovery part, I think there are many studies to explain on the recovery. There are short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And then the recovery rate, what I mean is that on the what people understand and perceive on the recovery process, it depends on the baseline model that they are using. If the recovery process 2021 based on 2020 year, meaning that on the year 2020, definitely it's much better, meaning that the recovery process is very fast because we are expecting that 2021 the economy will be better than 2020. So then we can say that it is only take one. It is we need only 1 year to recover the economy to the current positions, meaning that to 2020. What does the 2030 perspective is that because of when there are a lot of disruption in the economy, and then the economy move towards digitalizations and new technology, okay, to we can say that to replace the existing or the orthodox economy, then we need and adopt to new environment, new norma. So with that, reskilling and retraining is not a quick process. It is not a matter of 1 or 2 years. And then new directions of the economy, for example, economy that based on services. Now we notice that we find that okay, in certain areas services are heavily impacted, for example on tourism. So they need to move towards a new directions, new economic area that they think they have a comparative advantage in international arena. Then to change the infrastructure in a country in a macro perspective is not that quick. It's not that easy. For example, the building that we have to create and to have a new building, to build a new building is not just an overnight process. So the answers of this recovery toward which path? If it is on the yearly basis, for example, you want to recover again on compare 2020 and 2021, then it's definitely become very quick recovery process. But if you want to have a trajectory and to aim as before, as if that there is no COVID, okay, as if that there is no COVID, then how long the economy will recover back towards that path? Then it takes time because of issues, we can say that rigidities of the economy, process of reskilling and retraining and redirecting of the economy. Yes.
Okay. So
forget about the aviation. Sorry, aviation. The second part
also, so it's only for the specifically for the aviation industry, yeah.
Yes, aviation industry nowadays, yeah, we understand that heavily, meaning that impacted.
Impact, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So. Depends on, we can say that's on the availability of vaccines and availability of a new norms that can be adopted by this aviation industry. Because most of the countries still closed, we are depending on local domestic, we'll call it domestic passengers. Okay, so but we are very lucky. For example, Indonesia, Malaysia, we are quite depending, meaning that our transportation system depends on aviation because of the geographical nature of our region. We are separated with island, and so that's why they are not much affected compared to European countries and some of the region where the aviation industry is much more impacted. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so probably for the specific area, Indonesia and Malaysia, which has the domestic passengers probably a lot more than other areas, it's recover better. Do you think so?
Yes, meaning that the recovery rate is much faster.
Faster, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay. Hopefully, it's also answered the question, Bu Trisetia. And we now have the question from Mr. Subagio. Okay. Here the question. I think it's to all panelists, yeah? What kind of business management theory and practice will be formed after this pandemic? Because business has contributed greatly to this pandemic. Thank you. I think it's eager to know, or the Mr. Subagio is one of the PhD candidates, so he's eager to know, and also as the academician, we are all want to know what kind of theory and also business management theory and practice that will be formed after this pandemic or during this pandemic. Okay, probably Dr. Suparak, you want to share first in your point of view? Would you please to turn on your microphone?
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So I think if you ask about what's the next management theories, or what's gonna be the next thing that the students should learn, I think they're gonna be quite a lot of change, I guess, in the management theories. I think one of the things we have to perhaps look at the change management and resilience. I think many of the schools now, we are focusing on the more of the conventional, traditional theories, and I think those are a little bit outdated if we look at the pandemic crisis. That change, as I mentioned to you during my presentation, we perhaps has to incorporate sustainable development, sustainability perspective in it. How we can ensure that our world will be more sustainable in the long run, how our world or how our people can be resilient in the long run. I think this is, as I mentioned to you, this need a lot of rethinking about what we have talked about previously, particularly in terms of the capitalism, or the focus on the economic growth only, right? So we have to look at others, dimensions to balance, our future acts, toward more sustainable future. Particularly, the world right now has been disrupted by a lot of uncertainties, right? Or a lot of us may have heard about the VUCA world, right? The rate of change faster, with the high velocity, a lot of uncertainties, with the right? The seas, a lot of complexities and a lot of, adaptabilities perhaps is the new skill, right? How we can quickly respond, to changes surrounding us. So I guess, these are some of the perspective and, some points that we have to really think about how the management, and organizational theory should move forward to. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much for me. Thank you.
Yeah, probably it's not only for the management and business theory. We can collaborate with the probably anthropological and technological. Probably, yeah, we can collaborate to implement the theory behind our research.
Yeah, I think it need to be much more multidisciplinary perspective also. Yeah, we cannot look, as I mentioned, in the business school or in the management school, we cannot looking at how we can maximize the profits or looking at the economic dimension alone, but we have to look at more at the more balancing dimensions.
Okay, agree with you. And what about you? What do you think, Professor Budi? Professor?
Yes, regarding Pak Bagio question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in relation to Pak Subagio question, I think there is no more specific theory. I agree with Professor Dr. Suparak. I think this is a multidisciplinary approach. I think in looking for the problem. I think what happened in company. I think in small company. I think is one of the important things. Just like we saw how we see the opportunity, I think, yeah, during the pandemic. I think today people do not need to buy clothes. I think yeah, do not want to go to overseas. I think, yeah, what they want to do is to get the healthy foods. I think drinks and vitamins. I think to keep their body health. I think healthy. Yeah. So if we try to predict that what kind of business that will develop in the future time, I think after a pandemic, I think is a business which is related with local tourism, I think, and also foods and beverages, I think, and pharmaceutical products, I think. And yes, something like games, I think, games, because people are boring, stay at home for the long time. They need something interesting. They need yes, they need something like movie or movie, but it is easily to get a movie. I think the Netflix, for example, I think offering this kind of needs, I think, from people. So
People need laser, yeah, Professor.
Sorry.
People need laser to release their stress, yeah.
That's right. Leisure, I think. Yeah, and yeah, leisure, yeah, because they are boring during 6 months, I think. And tomorrow I will leaving also to Semarang and Jogja just to get a leisure, I think, because I have to stay at my office. Yeah. I always work from office, not at home, because so many documents that I should handle, so many problems that I handle, especially related with academic affairs. So this is growing by day to day, I think. So leisure, I think, is today, I think, is the important point, yeah, for us, and especially starting from tomorrow, yeah, Wednesday to Sunday. I think this is a long holiday, 5 days holidays. I think people will go somewhere, I think, and needs transportation to go there and need accommodation to stay, I think. And yeah, but I don't guarantee that the business of hotel, I think, will beneficial in the long run, at least for 1 year forwards, I think. Yeah. So the in short, I think the capability, the ability to look for or to see the opportunity, what kind of business, I think, is the important one, because some people doing business, I think, they upload something in YouTube, and something, yeah, like roughly Harun, you know, a lawyer, I think, a lawyer. I think now they turn to do business, I think, in YouTube. I think every single upload, I think at least 250,000 people like and view. I think this is a big money, I think, for one upload. I think this will grow up, I think. And also, yeah, some people, especially who master about information technology, want to use YouTube as a business. I think this is also interesting business. I think game, video, and something like food, restaurants. I think, yeah, I think so many people, yeah, needs their product, I think. So I don't mention a specific theory, but if you want to focus more, I think is in and the suitable course, I think, is marketing theories. I think so many theory over there just to look for the business, yeah, segmenting, targeting, segmenting, targeting people, I think, who will consume our product, who will use our product. I think is the important things. I think. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor. And we also want to know the perspective from Prof. Asako. What do you think, Prof. Asako?
Okay. Concerning about my area, it means that it says that the question is what kind of business management theory, right?
Yes.
Or yes, and the recommendation, right? For
Yeah.
my point of view, actually, if the person of the I can lead is Mr. or Miss Sabakyo.
Mister. It's a Mister. Yeah.
Yes, is want to learn about something. I think I strongly recommend to read a very classic theory book. It's a contingency theory of Lawrence and Gauch.
Contingency theory. Yes. Okay.
Because it's very classic, but it says that the organization change themselves to adapt to the circumstance. So it's basically it's same. We need to change ourselves to adapt to the circumstance in the COVID-19, after the COVID-19 maybe. So from my point of view, it is the kind of the situation change. So I want to recommend two things. First is contingency theory. It is very macro for the organization. But if you think about the people itself, or a human being itself, it's thinking about the mindset change. So for the innovation or something. So I strongly recommend to read about the psychology book. Anything is fine. Just pick up one. And think and take that frame. And that frame, from point of view, you can see, you can learn a lot, because the circumstance changes. We are faced with for the wrong history, and we handle it. So if you have a time, maybe we can handle it. So be positive. That is my message. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you recommend the contingencies theories and also take the perspective from psychological area. Okay, yeah, nice, yeah. Okay, and last, we also want to know from Professor Sarmidi, because his thought is, in macroeconomy, and also it's related with the, what we call it then, what's that, formula, something like that. It's probably beneficial to predict something, yeah, will happen in the future. Yes.
Yeah, it's difficult to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yes,
we try, yeah.
But I think good in management, because my area is on economic. We are talking about behavioral economics. Yes, I think it is a good platform. Like if someone want to study further, to explore more on the behavior of these people, consumer firms, okay, and how they going to react on this pandemic, on these contagions, okay. So I think it is a behavior. It is a micro foundations of macroeconomics, even though the impact is on macro, but the foundation definitely is coming from each individual actors, whether it is a consumer, whether it is household, okay, it is a labor, or it is a firm. So knowing exactly and knowing in detail of the behavior of these economic agents will definitely help you to predict some sort of predicting, okay, what's the next, what's in future. We are going to really rely heavily on technology, okay, because of the segmentations and then of these new norms that avoid us, or that does not permit us to have a close interactions. So that's why I think in technologies, the strategy, we need to understand about this behavior. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, really inspiring. Yeah, that we have to know or mastering the microeconomics first, because it's trigger or predicting the macroeconomic system. Yeah, I think, and the behavioral economy is the clue here.
Yeah, that's
Thank you, Professor Sarmidi. And next we have a question from Ibu Ruli Wiliandri. She's one our colleagues who's studying in who are studying in Netherlands. And the question is for Professor Sarmidi, Dr. Sarmidi. The question is, what does the Malaysia government do to make people who are not in the economic system survive in this pandemic situation? Since many unemployment also falls into this. Here the first question, and the second question is for Ms. Supara. How far the role of the Asian countries to make sustainable development goals to help the Asian members countries recovering from this COVID-19 impact, particularly in the economic aspect? Yes, please.
Okay, for the first questions on about those people who are not in the economic system, what I mean is the some says like informal economy, or some says it's a shadow economy, that are not recorded and not counted in national account, like calculations. Okay. So what Malaysian government did, definitely there is no like direct measures to address this problem, because they are not recorded, they are not exist, as if that they are not exist in the economy. Even though Snyder study, I think this like a seminal paper by Snyder on this informal economy, ranges from in Malaysia around approximately like 30%. Okay, we did studies on several state. I mean, personally, I'm doing this study on state basis. We have like in developed state like Selangor is less, approximately like 20, but state of Sabah in East Malaysia, approximately like more than 50% of informal economy. So what the government can indirect approach. On indirect approach is easy, because the government put a blanket, okay, to help them, those household that collective income, okay, less than 3,000 ringgit, approximately like 9 million, going to get this direct payment, government direct transfer, like 1,600 ringgit Malaysia, approximately like maybe like 15 million rupiah, if I'm not, yes, if my calculation is right. The payment staggered into 2 times, meaning they pay around 8 million and 8 million for 6 month period. Okay.
Is it like subsidized, something like that?
it's not a subsidy, it is a direct pay to help them to meet their basic necessities. And then for those who single, that one for family. For single, there are some, meaning that to have an income more than 1,000, more than 3,000 ringgit, which approximately like 3,000 is about 10 million rupiah. Government going to give them 900 ringgit, approximately like 3 million rupiah, yes, or like 100 and 150 USD within that 6-month period. So that's a direct pay. But the government also, because this one is unproductive, meaning that just to meet their basic necessities, okay, day-to-day basic living, to meet basic living. But we are more concerned, meaning that the government is concerned on helping them to grow. For example, they become unemployed due to some reason, the factory being closed, okay, the businesses being closed, but they have to move on. They have to generate on their own income. Government has allocated some amount of money, we can transfer to, for them to create their own business activities through a corporations, okay, business community, in a community. For example, in some locality, because of lockdown, they cannot move out of the that area. So they have to create their own business entity within that locality. Okay, government give a grant for that local people in that locality to, what do you call it, to set up new businesses. The only thing is that they need to give some proof of the establishments of that corporations from that locality. So that's another way government help the local people during this pandemic lockdown. Okay, apart from that, there are a lot of others incentive, those who are in the system. There are what do you call it, for the employers, okay, there are many more. And then for household, there are moratorium. All loans are being freeze for 6 months up to October, starting from last March till October. No need to pay loan. And now they're targeted, meaning that for those people who really affected, still they can apply for moratorium, where they got a wave of paying loans for a specific month in future. So that's a few approaches by Malaysian's government to help during the pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, just like similar in Indonesia also, the government has programs to overcome for them who are not in the economic system or informal sector. We have a Kartu Prakerja, and also what we call it then the subsidies, or just like bantuan langsung tunai. It's around 600,000 rupiah a month for each family from July to December. It's just like, and it's interesting, yeah, that Malaysia government also gives incentives for them who are in employment sector, yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, and then Dr. Suparan. Yes, now it's your turn. Would you please turn on your microphone?
Okay. Okay. Yes, please. Just a little bit of the recap for the question, please.
Okay. This is the question. How far the role of the Asian countries to make sustainable development goals to help the Asian members countries recovering from this COVID-19 impact, particularly in economic aspect? That's the question.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the question is very nice. Okay. Actually, I hope that all the prime ministers should be here to answer the question.
Because it's related with the
Okay. All right.
policy,
Okay.
yeah.
But anyway, I can share with you a little bit of our sort of preliminary analysis of our research on ASEAN countries, okay, particularly in terms of the economic dimension. We found that, many ASEAN member states depend too much on international trade and the global value chain, and the tourism. I think, these are the hardest hit economic areas for many nations in ASEAN. Okay. So what it means is that, we as the ASEAN's many ASEAN members, our economies are very vulnerable, to the global shocks, and several times, with the crisis, not only the COVID crisis, but, previously the hamburger crisis, the global financials. I mean, because these perhaps, have been our fundamental, economic sort of foundation, right? How we grow our GDPs, come from international trades, right? We depends a lot on suppliers, like China's and many others, developed countries. So our global value chains are and has been, so far affected a lot when China cannot send us supplies, so we cannot produce anything, everything locked down, transportation sort of suspended, and I think previously, a few professors mentioned about tourism, and that's, really big hit, adversely affect, and impact on every nation's, economic growth, because we depend too much, on international trades, tourism. Well, I mean, it's obviously, it's fair, right? I mean, because during the past, several years, we are growing quite a lot, in ASEAN. But what this means is that perhaps maybe we means, the member states, in ASEAN has to look at the intra-trade, cooperation, maybe we have to look at, what are the things that we can work, more in synergy instead of being competitive, right? For example, Thailand gold rice, Vietnam gold rice, many countries in ASEAN, we are competing on, being number one in the world, exporting rice. So, I mean, that's, when I look at, the intra-trade cooperation means perhaps we have to come together, look at our productions, and see how we can helping each other to grow as ASEAN, and so that's maybe one of the way, to help each other is to come back, helping each other to look at what's the strength, what the weakness, what's the opportunities, what are the challenges, and we can work, in the synergy together. I guess that pretty much, more or less what all the ASEAN members can do. Again, going forward with the cooperation more than competition, because the world after the post COVID-19, may be different, right? Again, as I mentioned to you, it's not only in terms of the economics that has been hardly hit, but other, interrelated like social problems, and, environmental ecological system also change. So I guess we have to look at things in more balanced perspective. I guess that's pretty much my answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suparak. Hopefully it can answer the question from Buruli. really interesting, yeah. Intra-trade cooperation, so strengthening the synergy of Asian countries. I think it's really interesting, yeah. And next, we also have a question from Bapak Agus Hermawan. Bapak Agus, are you there? Would you please open mic, please, and directly ask a question to the speakers? Bapak Agus, are you there? No? Okay. So I would like to just read your question, yeah, then. It is the question for Professor Asako, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay. Here the question. Japan sees Indonesia as an important partner in cooperation with the new Japanese Prime Minister. Japanese Prime Minister came to Indonesia earlier than the USA. And what types of cultural cooperation do you think are important between Japan and Indonesia? That's the question.
Okay, it's a big question. It's too big, actually. But I think it's obvious that Indonesian and Japan has the best partner and the most how to say maybe tighten and good partners for before is Abe the ex prime minister, he is too much focused on the United States, but the new prime minister Suga and most of Japanese people thinking about it, friendship with Indonesian and the friendship with ASEAN is most important for Japan. And on the other hand, what should we do is, I think this is the time for the COVID-19, so it's very hard to meet each other directly. But the meeting is most important for human beings. It's okay for the beer's screen. It's okay. It's my good time for me to share the knowledge each other's all over the world. But I think it's a contact time is very important. So for the culture aspect, or I don't know, it's saying a culture aspect, meet together and making how the communication together, especially for the college student or younger student, please come to Japan and we want to go to your country. So, and know each other from its variation for 60 degrees. So that if meet each other, we can understand each other. So the people think about that they get information from the 70% of the information come from eyes, and the others come from the sounds, or maybe thinking or something like that, or feeling of he or she is good and bad. So as meet directory is most important, I think. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So meet directly is important, yeah. Okay then. We have a lot of questions here, yeah. So I will continue to the next question, yeah. Yeah, Prof. Budi. Yeah. I actually want to ask you because your professorism is related with this, yeah, cultural, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My heart, you listen my heart. Yeah. Okay, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
In relation with culture, I think. Japanese and Indonesians, I think. So actually, Japan government and Indonesian government has started the collaboration and investing in Indonesia since 1967. Okay, we know that because Pak Harto signed, President Soeharto signed agreement MOU with Japan, I think. Okay, and why the investment from Japan, I think, is remain big. I think for Indonesia right now, since 67 to now, I think Japan investment, I think, is very big and a substantial investment, I think. And why this kind of cooperation still growth and continue is because Indonesia has a lot of people, great population, and Japan see that this is opportunity for their market, I think. And other reasons, I think, the Indonesian government and also the Japanese government try to set up a good climate for investment. Because, according to Professor Hofstede, and the uncertainty avoidance index for Japan, I think, is 92. Okay, for the top value is 100, and Japan, the score for uncertainty avoidance index is 92. Why is the index so high? Because Japan always threatened by tsunami, I think, and earthquakes, I think. That's why, and this kind of challenge, I think, from the natural situation in Japan make the Japanese to always calculate every single investment, whether this investment is safe or not. So if Indonesian government try to set up a regulation about investment, I think a safe investment, I think, and also so many people to be employee and they can work there, I think it is beneficial for these two countries. And and masculinity also, according Professor Hofstede, and the Japan, I think, is the highest ranking in the world, I think, in terms of masculinity cultural dimension, because masculinity, it means man, I think, man with the high spirits of Buddhiso and Shogun and so on and so forth. I think they try to make to produce a certain product, especially in electronics and car, I think. So no wonder that Japan is number one in electronic and car, I think, car manufacturer, the best in the world, with the quality of good quality, and the price is relatively cheap, I think. So compared to car from US and also Europe, I think.
Korea.
So, yeah, this is this courage or this enthusiasm in Japan is they work in a group, because they work in a group, in a team, and they work as a group together to achieve a special goal, I think. It is this is relatively cannot be imitated by other people, just like Indonesia, because they are very disciplined, they are very tough, they are very diligent in doing something, and they work in a team, in the basis of team, I think. So this is in the perspective of a firm, but from the perspective of a country, between Indonesia and Japan, I think, has already make mutual trust, mutual benefits from the investment. Okay, Japan sell the product in Indonesia, and Indonesia can absorb employment for the people over there, and this kind of trust will continue, because this is the fundamental element, I think, for making cooperation in the future time. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for adding information, Prof. Budi. Okay, then we will go to the next question. Oh, so many attentive participants here, yeah. We have Muhammad Fajri. Introduce me. My name is Fajri from Universitas Negeri Malang. Okay, so it's our students. And this is probably he said sorry because the question might go out of context, but I think it's known, yeah. It's related. First, I think it's for all speakers, yeah. how countries and societies best deal with an economic recession and recover from it. And the second question is, how do we find the execute potential in the middle or later after a pandemic? Whereas we know a lot of big players pivot, which end up like seizing our chance, yeah, our chance, yeah. Actually, I think probably Professor Sarmidi will relate it to answer the question first. Professor Sarmidi.
Yes, the only thing is that because these economies to recover, and then the first part I could not really clear from the question.
Yeah.
Could you repeat it again? Yes.
Yes. How countries and societies best deal with an economic recession and recover from it?
Okay. Yes.
That's the first question. Yeah.
Okay. Definitely. Every like our human body, we suffer from certain illness every now and then. Okay. In fact, this illness or some sort of, we can say that's like disruptions to our body is for, in fact, to teach our body, okay, to give more resilience and agility to our life. So in economy like that, meaning that we call it as like a correction period, okay, naturally, like the economy, the directions of the economy to move towards certain directions. From 1950s, we are based on agriculture, maybe up to 1960s, and then industrializations, and then we can say that internationalizations, okay, where people go for multinational companies. So these things are natural. So similar with this pandemic, it is a natural thing to the economy. The only thing is that how the society will adapt to that. Those people who are not equipped with certain knowledge, for example, nowadays we need a digital economy where Grabs, okay, new applications of economy. The way last time it is normal to open shop by 8 in the morning, and then you go physical shops, and then you close. But nowadays it is no more like that. It is a more virtual shops. You can sell your product in Shopee and many Alibaba platform. So it is in fact a new way of dealing with the economy. So every like 100 years, okay, now is a new century where we move on to new century, and then we have to adapt. It is the people, the human capital, to adapt to a new trend rather than we want to rectify the trend. The COVID will persist, all those things will come in our life, and then it is we ourselves, it is the society to adapt to the new norms. Okay, that's why we have to adapt to new norms, because we want to to survive. Those who can survive, then they can excel. Those who don't want to survive, then they're going left behind. No matter who you are, whether it is a developed economy like US, if you don't want to adapt, then you're going to be. Nowadays, we need to prepare on the human capital and on the institutional setup to adapt to a new thing. Because in 40s, 50s, before that, we can see that some countries who are developed countries, but nowadays they are lagging behind compared to countries which they adapt to new technology. Then now they are leading the world. Maybe we can say that China going to lead the world after this, because they are very fast adapting to new technologies and more innovations coming from this region. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sarmidi. And there are I think we got the point, yeah, from this question or the answer. Majority of all of the speakers are suggested that not only for the business and economy, also for people and the country to be more adaptive and adjust to the changing condition of the world. Not only for with the pandemic, but also for any kind of changing in the world. Yeah. Just like Mr. Sarmidi said, and also Dr. Suparak, that the adaptive and resilience is new skills or skills that have to mastered by the company, by the government or the countries to adjust with a crisis, something like that. Okay, I think this is the end of the question and answer session. Thank you for the speakers to answer all of the questions from the participants, and hopefully all of the answer are answering your question, yeah, from the participants. And thank you again for our speakers today for answering those questions and for the great presentation. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. And I think it's concludes the webinar today. And I would say also thank you for all the attendants. Yeah, we hope you have learned and enjoyed the conference today. I think that's all for me. Thank you, Professor Sarmidi. Thank you, Professor Asako, Professor Budi, and also Dr. Suparat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all from me. I think I will close the parallel session today. Enjoy your day and please stay safe and well. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Wahana, for the inspiring discussions. The presentations and discussion are definitely resourceful and well constructed for what should we be performed next, and either for survive from and overcome the outbreak or to step forward. And this is the end of the seminar sessions. However, as I mentioned previously, I'd like also to remind you that we'll announce the best paper for these sessions. For this moment, the committees are still preparing the legality. Thus, please kindly to stay in this room and shortly join us for the commencement. Gentlemen, now's the time to announce the best paper of the 4th International Research Conference on Economics and Business. Thus, I'd like to invite the Chief Executive, Dr. Eli Siswanto, SOS MM.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to announce the winners of IRCEP 2020 Best Paper Awards. 4 research articles were selected for this award based on knowledge field categorized. All papers published in IRCEP 2020 proceeding were considered for the award. A reviewer and expertise consider the originality, novelty, significance of the papers and the video presentation as well in determining the winners. So, we are proudly announced the first prize article from economic development field categorized is okay. Rieke Retnosari, Nur Jafir MD Saleh, and Siti Masruro. Congratulations. Playing room in shopping center it's important, this topic. And the second prize article from management field categorized is Nurika Restuningdia with paper title Development of Mapping Program to Teach Online-Based Financial Accounting Course during the COVID-19 pandemic. Congratulations. And the third prize article from economic education is Ika Yutiasari and Kuncahyono with the paper title Development of Digital Sway Teaching Materials in Online Learning in the COVID-19 Pandemic Era. Congratulations. And the fourth prize article from accounting is Muhtar Rashid, Anita Christina, and Putu Ayu Pramita. Paper title is Optimal Price Level Under Slowing Economic Performance Using Simple Crude Inflation Threshold Models. Congratulations and many congratulations for all authors. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Once again, congratulations to all the best author. Hopefully we all can be motivated by this achievement. And we have come to the very end of today's program. Hopefully you get all necessary fruitful and engaging breakthrough knowledge on economics and business. On behalf of Universitas Negeri Malang, we'd like to say thank you to all keynote speakers, moderator, participants, and especially to committees of today's program. If you still have questions regarding the topic and presentations today, please don't hesitate to comment to our YouTube channel. The link has been put in the chat room. I am Aulia Herdiani. See you and goodbye.